ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਖਤਰੇ 'ਚ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਉਨ ਅਥੋਰਿਟੇਰੀਅਨ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਆਪਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ਾਂ ਚੱਕ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਦਲਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਉਮੀਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਬਟ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਈਰਾਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਚਾਈਨਾ ਦੀ ਈਰਾਨ ਦੀ ਵਨਸ ਅਗੈਨ ਜੋ ਗਲੋਬਲ ਸਟੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਨੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪਾਵਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਇਹ ਸਮਾਲਰ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਹੈ ਸਮਾਲਰ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਬਟ ਚਾਈਨਾ is a different story altogether. One of the powerhouses in the world, unlimited resources, and sab to zyada ye resources paaye ja rahe hai towards internal security, monitoring and controlling of the population. Is mulk de vich protest karna is a very dangerous thing, but फिर भी किन्ने वड्डे लेवल दे प्रोटेस्ट वेखण नूं मिल रही है इन्हां नूं समझण लई एक वारी फिर साडे गेस्ट सानूं जॉइन करे फ्रॉम वाशिंगटन DC एंबेसडर प्रदीप कपूर एंबेसडर वेलकम बैक वंस अगैन एंबेसडर कपूर जदों भी ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ this is your specific area of expertise as a luminary diplomat ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਦਿੱਤੀ as India's ambassador serving in the Asian general region and today ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਈਨਾ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ once again this is not just a direct connection to India because of their neighboring territories, but it's a direct jidda kehte na takkar India de naal, right? China India always going at it head to head, two great civilizations, right? And ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ two powerhouses ਜੋ ਕਿ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੀ global top spot ਲਈ compete ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ China has notably gotten to that level by controlling its population, right? ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਾਹਿਰਤਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ that ਉਹ ਇੰਨੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਆਬਾਦੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਪਾਇਆ even though they're authoritarian they exist in a capitalist society and COVID ਜਦੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ they imposed some of the strictest lockdowns, strictest restrictions ਜੋ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਸੈਂਸ ਵੀ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਸੀ put them in great economic peril ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ economic ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਵੀ ਹੋਇਆ but everyone thought that you know ਇੰਨੀ ਵੱਡੀ population ਨੂੰ control ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜ਼ਾਹਿਰ ਹੈ I mean it's necessary almost Ambassador ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਵੀ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੈ on COVID you know that you have co-authored COVID and its global impact around the world ਅਗਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਤੋਂ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ you know ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਚਾਈਨਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਸਖਤੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਰਿਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਲਾਈਆਂ ਸੀ from 2020 do you feel largely overall ਅਗਰ ਵੱਡੇ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਏ largely they have been beneficial for the country?
It's a mixed story in the sense that it's never one-sided. China is an authoritarian country, dictatorship हैगी. India ਤਾਂ democratic country है, ਤਾਂ बहुत different paths है ਦੋਨਾਂ ਦੇ evolution ਦੇ growth ਦੇ. China the COVID policies have been very rigid. I mean ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ because it's a dictatorship and an authoritarian rule to say ਕਿ ਵੀ ਹੁਣੇ 20 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੀ ਆਬਾਦੀ ਦਾ ਸਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ completely lockdown ਕਰ ਦੋ at a city level or at a regional level ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਰੇਲ ਦੀ ਗੱਡੀ ਅੰਦਰ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕੇਗੀ ਪਲੇਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕੇਗਾ ਗੱਡੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕੇਗੀ ਪੂਰਾ lockdown so that sort of situation where no movement becomes possible they have been imposing they have also been shutting down industries during that period you know manufacturing etc people have been staying at home so it has suffered a lot of economic setbacks because of that many people are destitute ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਸਪਰੈਡ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ that is a little too much for them to manage it easily. So they are becoming even more stricter in their controls. Simultaneously, ਜਿਹੜਾ most important change ਆਇਆ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ non Han population of China. Tibetans, Mongolians, Muslims all over the country, and the Han Chinese, of course, in Hong Kong and places like that.
Ji.
Now, for the Han Chinese population to start protesting against the Xi regime is a very serious matter, because that is a very big shock. After Tiananmen Square massacre,
Ji.
this is the first time that suddenly protests have erupted on this scale.
Ji.
So currently it is, not an easy situation. We will discuss other aspects of the economy as we go along, but it's not going to be easy for them to manage it in a very comfortable manner as they've been doing so far.
Right. Ambassador, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ, the economic plays a big role here, right? ਜਦੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਤਾਂ large majority of the population ਉਹ economically ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀਆਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ, ਇੱਕ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ complacency ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, right? Population ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਸਹਿ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹੈ ਮਾੜਾ ਮੋਟਾ, but ਜਦੋਂ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਵਰਤਿਆ destitute, ਭੁੱਖਮਾਰੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਝੇਲਣੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਦ ਇੱਕ ਛੋਟੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਵੀ ਇਨਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਅੱਗੇ ਬਣ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। I mean the apartment building fire, ਇੱਕ ਅਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਅੱਗ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 10 ਜਾਨਾਂ ਗਈਆਂ, 3 hours it took the fire department to get there because of certain COVID measures. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੜਕਾਂ ਬਲੌਕ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਸੀ, and of course people in the building were trapped as well because ਉਹਨਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਸਖਤ ਪਾਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਆਉਣ ਜਾਣ ਦੀਆਂ। So ਇੱਕ boiling point ਇਸ protest ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ। What do you think? I guess, is it economic or is it ਜੋ COVID ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਕ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਦੁਖੀ ਹੋ ਗਏ? What do you think has been the main reason ਕਿ ਐਤਕੀ ਇਸ protest ਨੂੰ ਇੰਨੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵੱਡੇ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ grow ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਵੀ ਮਿਲਿਆ?
ਪ੍ਰਾਇਮਰਲੀ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ means your economic safety and security is being threatened. A lot of industries are moving, manufacturing is moving out of China. Apple has announced just a couple of days back that they will shift out 100% of the manufacturing out of China into India and Vietnam primarily. Japan has announced a huge fund for facilitating the movement of Japanese manufacturing out of China. So that is happening on one side. On the other side, you have real estate crisis in China. There are a large number of buildings which have been constructed, which are not being completed. Then you have the oligarchs and the big names, the billionaires, being threatened by the regime. Some of them have moved to different countries altogether. One of them surfaced in Japan the other day. Yeah. Jack Ma of Alibaba. So there is a lot of churning going on. Then US semiconductor industry, to revive that, the administration here announces a huge fund. And they also say that Americans who are working in sensitive sectors should immediately stop, whether they're working for the Chinese companies in the US or in China or any other part of the world. So there is a small exodus on the side which is not making much news. Then there is scrutiny on the Confucius Institutes in the US. Then a lot of other activities which they were getting away with earlier, like establishing police stations in other countries, are coming under the scanner. So supply chains are being diversified from China to other countries. Railway network itself, now you have built a very beautiful railway network, which is 22nd century, 21st century, end of 21st century type capacities. Now those capacities are not being utilized. Railways are in a very bad shape in terms of financial situation. So all these combined together, and then the problems that they have created for themselves, as various analysis show, that amongst most of their neighbors, there are very serious problems of territory or rights or claims or aggression. We saw that in the Indo-Tibetan border, in the line of actual control, and that issue is not yet settled after so many rounds of meetings. And India has said that till the border problems are sorted out, the possibility of good relations with China is not going to be possible.
Of course.
Secondly, ਉੱਥੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਲੈ ਲਓ ਆਸ-ਪਾਸ ਦਾ ਬਾਹਰ ਦਾ, whether it is South Korea, whether it is Japan, whether it is Malaysia, whether it is Indonesia, whether it is Philippines, even with Russia, they have border problems which have calmed down for the time being. But South China Seas, East China Seas are continuously on the boil. Internally, the populations in Tibet, Mongolia, Xinjiang, etc., are constantly, very, very upset about their cultural sort of annihilation, which is, being attempted. So, for a country to deal with so many of these problems, they will manage to a great extent because they are using, artificial intelligence. They are using new algorithms, AR, VR, MR, mixed reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, etc. Data analytics, big data, all machine learning. So they are able to crack down to a great extent, and they will continue to be able to do that as per various reports for some time more. But then I do not see a very bright future for them in the long run.
Ambassador, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਉਸੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ in the direction that I wanted to go, right? So the surveillance state in China, ਇਹ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੀ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਸਰਵੇਲੈਂਸ ਸਟੇਟ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਇਨਫਰਾਸਟ੍ਰਕਚਰ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਵੈਲ ਐਸਟੈਬਲਿਸ਼ਡ ਹੈਗਾ ਮੁਲਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ to crack down on these protests, to do facial recognition of the protesters, to surveil their cell phones, etc., etc. and ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ already China ਨੇ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ internally, so they're just relying on technology that's already there. But surely, I mean, we also report ho raha hai that they are looking to ease some of these COVID restrictions. Ke ek passe oh COVID restrictions nu thodi chhoot bhi de rahe hai, jin karana karke log ki ne upset hai. I mean, I guess, in closing, what do you think that these protests are ek hi message de rahe hai Communist Party nu and President Xi Jinping, the regime nu? How do you think that they will adapt as a result of these protests moving forward?
Well, I think it's going to survive the current onslaught, but it's going to be badly hit in the medium to longer term. Even, for example, we have just learned that Xi Jinping will be soon on his way to Saudi Arabia. So he's quite comfortable in terms of being able to manage the thing. But if you are being, the moment you attack Taiwan, for example, that could be a turning point. International forces could coalesce. And then it may become more and more difficult for the regime to be able to manage and control the situation as they have been doing so far, because slowly, if the Han population itself starts protesting against this government,
right,
and this government then has to use a lot more resources all the time, it will be, continuous bleeding will happen. And it's then any external action on any front will sort of be the turning point. So my own analysis and what I have read in a lot of places now is that the dreams of China to become the #1 economic power, the #1 military power of the world, that dream may not materialize.
Very, very interesting analysis, because I think ek cheez ta sare liye clear hai that that is certainly China's goal. It has been, and it would be a tough shift to see them move away from that anytime soon. But in any case, Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor ji, as always, tod nal jud ke gal karke we always leave smarter. Thank you for your time and analysis. And jarur sade nal fir aake judo. Both of these stories are only just developing. Have a good rest of your evening, Ambassador. Sat Sri Akal.
Sat Sri Akal ji, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद and all the very best wishes.